Welcome to lesson 3 of the step-by-step tutorial. At the end of lesson 2 we had added controls to the UX component that will be used to display the data from the customer table, but we hadn't yet bound the component to the database, so the controls here are not actually displaying data from the customer table. By the time we get to the end of lesson 3, we'll be at this point where the controls here are bound to the customer table, and we'll be able to navigate through the records by clicking on the record navigation buttons. So let's go back now to the UX component as we left it at the end of lesson 2 now, and start to add the functionality to bind the component to the customer table in the Northwind database. So the first thing that we're going to do is go back to design mode here if you have the component already open. If you don't have the component open, please go to the web control panel, go to lesson 3 and open up lesson 3 underbar start, which you can use as your starting point. So here we are basically back in the component, and we have the component open now in the editor, and you can see in the list of available sections in the toolbox on the left hand side is an item called data binding. So data binding is used to bind the UX component to a database so that the controls that you have on the component can display data from a table in the database. So let's click on data binding and now go ahead and add the data binding to our component. So we'd like to choose this item here called bind the controls in your UX to fields in one or more existing tables. If we didn't currently have a table, we could actually create a table from the controls that we've already placed on the component using this first item here called create new tables. But since we already have the Northwind database with the customer table, we're going to just bind that customer table to the controls here. So click on bind controls, and then you'll see the bind UX controls to table fields dialog open up. So the first thing that you need to do is specify which table or tables in the Northwind database you'd like to bind to. So click the button here that says specify tables, and then you'll see the select tables dialog opens. So the first thing that we need to do is specify which database we're talking to. So we're going to go and specify the connection string. So at the bottom of the screen you can see SQL connection string. Click the select button, and then where it says use a named connection string, choose the Northwind connection string that that was previously defined for this database. So go ahead now and click Northwind and then click OK. And now that we've selected which database we're going to connect to, we can now specify which table in the database we'd like to bind to. So we're going to go ahead now and click the Add Table button, and then the Add New Table dialog comes up, and click on the Select Table button, and then you can choose now the Customers table in the pop-up dialog that appears now. So select Customers and then click OK, and then the alias we can just leave that blank. The alias will be filled in for us automatically if we leave it blank. So go ahead now and click OK, and now we have selected the first table that we're going to be binding to. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next